USC looked destined for a down season after starting 1-3, but after an undefeated October, they're right back in the mix for the Pac-12 South. Here to join me to take a look at just where USC stands is former USC quarterbacks coach and current Pac-12 Network analyst, Yogi Roth. Yogi, thanks for joining me.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
First things first, Sam Darnold. As a former quarterbacks coach, what have you seen out of Darnold that's allowed him to be so successful so quickly?
You know, it's a great question. I've known Sam for a long time. I can remember when he was in high school, I worked with the Elite 11 quarterback camp, and I talked to his head coach, Jaime Ortiz, and he goes, look, this guy hasn't played as a junior because he got hurt. I think he broke his ankle 2 games in, but he's a dynamic athlete. Trust me, just go with him. And we brought him up, or he on his own. He came up to, we invited him to Oakland for a camp that day, and he just went off. And he reminded me of Andrew Luck, just how the ball came out, how athletic he was. You know, he's a basketball player, right? He's a 20-10 guy in hoops. So you knew immediately that he was going to have a unique skill set. What's been so impressive so far, and I did a breakdown on Pac-12.com yesterday where Sam can turn his back to a defense after already gathering the picture, turn around, not see anything, be blind to a defense, but the minute he turns around again in a play action pass, he can see the defense again. And to be able to what I call chunk information is a big skill set at the quarterback position, and he's thrived there. Chunking information, saying, all right, the safeties are this is what the defense is doing. The defensive line is in this alignment, this is where the defense is rotating. Those are the things, to me, right now that are most impressive, because the throwing mechanics, the accuracy, the athleticism, that stuff that you knew that we got with Sam Darnold on campus, but it's the functional football intelligence that's allowed him to be right now one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the Pac-12.
So, Yogi, you always say that you got a PhD in football in your time here at USC. So what did you really get out of it? I mean, obviously you learned a lot from Coach Carroll, but in your words, what did you get out of your time here?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, man. I mean, SC gave me a ton. You know, number one, a master's degree in communication management. But 2, it allowed me to really develop in my 20s. And Pete was, clearly an insane reason why. I mean, he mentored me as, not only just a coach, but almost like a member of his family. And there's a lot of elements in that I continue to hold on to this day and continue to develop, within our friendship. But from a football standpoint, a lot of times analysts, and this isn't a shot at analysts, but you come at it with an expertise of your profession, right? So you see it if you played wide out from a wide out lens. If you're a quarterback, clearly you can see a couple other elements of it, but everybody pretty much leans towards their position group. What they allowed me to do with Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin specifically on offense was to be able to see it through a ton of other lenses. When I was playing at Pitt, I was probably regarded as one of the smarter players on the team. And I thought I knew a lot of football. I can remember my first meeting at SC on the staff, and I was like, whoa, I don't know anything that you're talking about. Defensive fronts, different alignments, techniques. I never even heard those words. And the point is that you master your expertise. I had mastered playing wide receiver. I had an understanding of what the quarterback was looking at as a player. But as a coach, you really have to understand all of the parts within an offense and how they fit against a defense. So for my 4 years there, and my first 2 were really with Lane, and how he developed game plans was really unique, and how he attacked different people. And I was primarily with the receivers. When I came back to SC for my 2 years with Sark, we would meet, it was probably Monday through Thursday, almost Monday through Friday, if my memory serves me right, and we'd have quarterback school. And we'd go at about 6:15, I'd come in, and I'd have his coffee and my coffee, and we'd just go to work. And I broke down the quarterback position in offense literally from how you take a snap from center. So we went to work on every element, from the basic, most fundamental footwork, eye discipline necessary to just survive with the position, to how you call games, how you build game plans, to how you attack defense. Then, of course, with Pete, the overarching philosophy, how to build a program. So now as an analyst, when I go in and meet with these coaches every week prior to calling one of their games, those are the things I'm looking at. Where is it not only top down, but from a coordinator standpoint? Do the captains understand that language? Are they on the same page? And that's the area where I think, where I just got a different skill set than a lot of other people in the business, because I was in the room at probably the greatest time in the last 20 years in major college football.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really well-rounded approach to the game, but USC's loss to Utah earlier this season is obviously one of the main things preventing them from being at the top of the Pac-12 South. But they did beat Colorado, and with about a month remaining, do you think SC has a realistic chance of winning the South?
I think it's going to be hard. They need help. They need help starting tomorrow night. They need, to cheer for UCLA to beat Colorado I don't think it's going to happen. It's interesting. It's kind of like we're waiting for the shoe to fall for Colorado, right? Especially you watch the SC game back, and SC could have ran away with that game. They allowed Colorado, in my opinion, to stay involved in that when you go watch the film back. And I think they are playing the best out of any team in the Pac-12 South now, but they don't own the tiebreaker, as you referenced to Utah. They're 2 games back of Colorado. They need a lot of help. The Buffs have a great schedule for them in terms of playing at home. I keep comparing them to Butler in basketball. They got 56 juniors and seniors on this roster. They're just veterans. They're not going to hurt themselves. You're not going to see unforced errors. You're not going to see careless turnovers, missed tackles. I mean, they just play a disciplined brand of football, and I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be interesting to see what SC does, because we all talk about their last couple of games, and they've rolled, but they haven't faced any adversity. I can't wait till next week to see them go up to Seattle and play UW, because they're going to get popped. They get popped right in the throat from the first snap of the game from Azim Victor, Keyshawn Bierria, Budda Baker, Elijah Qualls, Greg Gaines, Joe Matt, those types of players from UW that are just difference makers, and they're intimidators. And I can't wait to see how USC responds, because they haven't done it yet this season, and they haven't faced adversity in a while. So they will respond, but we haven't seen it. And I can't wait to see that, because you've seen Clay Helton evolve as a head coach throughout the season, whether it's suspending players, getting rid of players, being more disciplined, committing to an approach, obviously the change of quarterback. And I think it's been fun to watch him, because this is a guy who's doing it for the first time.
Right.
He wasn't at Miami of Ohio. He wasn't at San Diego State. He didn't have another job to prepare to be a real head coach outside of just handling things when they got messy at USC. So I think they're the best team in the South, but I think it's going to be hard for them to win that division.
Yeah, they definitely need a lot of help. But speaking of that Washington team, they were ranked 5th in the first college football playoff rankings as opposed to 4th in the AP rankings. I know there's a ton of big games left, so it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, but what does it say about the Pac-12 as a whole that its undefeated leader is ranked behind a one-loss Texas A&M team?
We did it last night on the Pac-12 Network. I don't know if you guys saw it. We're doing a Facebook Live show every Tuesday, literally, as the releases are happening. And you should come hang out. I'm doing it literally on SC's campus. And I was bothered by it, to be quite honest. Now, I get it, and I understand that if UW runs the table, they're going to make it. But here's what happened is, in my opinion, and they're looking for the best team, not the best conference, right? That's a quote from a playoff committee. I don't think they did that in this scenario. Number one, when you look at, I get the non-conference schedule, but you can't tell me that like Prairie View A&M or whoever that is a baller team. You can't tell me that UTSA, who they're going to play later on in the season, is a baller team. And then where I was frustrated was the lack of respect, in my opinion, to the teams that UW has beaten. Here's an example. A&M beats an Arkansas team. It was ranked at the time. They beat a Tennessee team. Okay, that's fine. I get that, right? Stanford also beat a UW team that I think was like 5th, 6th, or 7th. They were top 10 in the nation at the time. Now, clearly the reality of Arkansas and Tennessee is different. The reality of Stanford is different. But there's no, in my opinion, respect to what they did to those big brands. On top of that, when you look at the way they played, and I had a chance to talk to the committee a week ago and ask them the specific question of, would you take a one-loss team, basically A&M, over a conference champion, basically UW? And they said, look, we have the autonomy to put the top 4 teams in the country in the playoff. And the way that the committee operates is based on today. These are their top 4 teams. And I know things can change, but based on today, if you study the tape, what's the difference between a Michigan and UW in terms of margin of victory, in terms of how they played? Everybody talked about the Colorado game, what Michigan did. Nobody on that broadcast, when they were announced, talked about how Sefo Lufa didn't play in the second half, the starting quarterback for Colorado. So to me, the consistency for the first time under the committee, I didn't see it as much as I've seen it throughout the first 2 years of the college football playoff. And it was frustrating because, yes, Colorado, I get it. Utah, I get it. But even when you look down the line, you're going to tell me that a Utah team who lost in the last play to Cal, and you can argue it was a non-call in the UW game that prevented them to potentially win it or potentially take it to overtime, is not better than Penn State. You just can't tell me that when you watch the tape. Same thing when I look at UW. When I break them down and what they do in all 3 phases, you can't tell me that them and Michigan aren't comparable. And that's where I thought the numbers and the metrics and the analytics, I get it. But if you truly studied it, to me, I clearly disagreed with it. So I know I kind of rambled there, but
no.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games left, obviously. both these teams, A&M, UW, and all the other teams in the top rankings have a lot of big games against big opponents. So there's a lot up for change. But Yogi, thanks for taking the time to join me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, anytime.